I think at the moment, indie is so alive.
Literally anyone can be an indie developer. Anyone can make a game on a console, give or take.
I don't think there's competition between indie developers. It's more of a community.
I mean, people still love video games, and if anything, this is a testament that video games are still alive and kicking.
So Raging Justice is a nostalgic-inspired side-scrolling brawler, a beat-em-up for want of a better term. I grew up with games such as Final Fight and The Simpsons arcade game, things like Streets of Rage 1 and 2. I loved this kind of side-scrolling brawlers where it was just you against the world, or you and a friend even.
RPG Tycoon. It is a kingdom simulation tycoon game that puts you in control of a desolate kingdom and challenges you to kind of grow it into something amazing and awesome. And you do that by hiring heroes, sending them out on quests, gaining fame and money to attract adventurers from the settlements that you protect into your kingdom to shop in the buildings that you place to make more money and grow and expand and all the general tycoon-y goodness. So my background's in film. And I dabbled in like flash animations, and then I realized that you could make like play and pause buttons, and so I kind of leveled up on that, and I realized that you could like skip to other scenes. So I made like interactive movies, and it was just kind of, it just elevated into like, oh wait, hold on, now I can make games, right? And so that's kind of where my background in programming kind of came from. But as of like where this started, it was actually kind of while I was finishing uni studying film. I just wanted something to like almost a hobby to work on, and this kind of just took over really after I left. So
and then the game is about a cassette tape where you play as a cassette tape with the idea of if you're 1 minute into the A side and then you flip your cassette tape, you've got 1 minute left of the B side, so you then have to play backwards, and it's a combination of that mechanic with the B switches and all of that that gives you the harder platforming style, should I say, of the game. Well, I was just kicking some ideas around with a friend, and we were just chatting, and it was like, yo, super mixtape, like this could happen, you know, like let's do it. Like we started thinking about the mechanics of a cassette tape, and it started becoming more of a feasible idea that a cassette tape that inherently has mechanical components has game mechanics. Like let's keep it retro, you know, let's beat off that digital era and keep it retro.
Our game is called Hopico. It came out yesterday on the iOS App Store and on Android. Well, it's a platforming game, but it's not a typical run left and right, up and down and jump kind of platforming game. It's set in 0G, and it uses really simple touch controls to you just swipe or touch. Each run has got 5 levels in, and you have to complete all 5 to complete the run. And if you fail on one of those, you have to go straight back to the beginning. We grew up playing games, you know. My first console was a NES. So we kind of done pixel art with a more like a modern twist on it. And also all the music is in chiptunes as well, which I did on my Game Boy. So it's a one-off payment. It's $2.99. There's no in-app purchases, no adverts or anything like that.
The biggest problem that a gamer has these days is there are too many games and too many good games. Take indies, there are too many indie games. From a gamer's point of view, I want to play them all. Never mind the hidden gems, the ones I've heard of are great. Then you go to your AAA, you've got your Metal Gears just come out, that's a fantastic game. It's a time sink. And if you're doing that, you're not playing the next game. Yeah. It's so frustrating that there's so many games.
Like my background in film, I've always found really tough. Like I found the indie film industry really tough, right? Whereas here at EGX, I was so scared because I thought I would be like dog eat dog, like no one would talk to each other, but it wasn't like that at all. It was awesome because we would be like gathering each other's work and sending people to each other's games. It's such an open experience.
People keep asking me like about the competition between developers and stuff. And the great thing about now, rather than when we were kids, is this indie scene. And I don't think there's competition between indie developers. It's more of a community. Like I could go over to these guys and say, ask them questions and stuff, and they wouldn't be like, I'm not going to tell you that. It's a trade secret. It's much more of a collaborative effort.
There's a different way people kind of consume their gaming now. You pick it up, you play it. When you're finished, you move on. I mean, I remember I used to cherish my tapes that I had for my Sinclair Spectrum, and I would line them up and make sure that everything was all in order. But now you got your digital catalog. You can just kind of flick through your games.
I think at the moment, indie is so alive. Indie is so, every year it gets bigger and bigger and bigger here, and like the community is fantastic. Like everyone's so willing to help each other out, and they're so supportive of each other. And like that's one thing I've really tried to do with this game as well, like with the audio, by using people that aren't found artists, like people on SoundCloud and things like that, and try and give them a step up as well. Like if the game does well, it gives them a boost, regardless of what country they're in and those sort of things. I think indie at the moment is so buzzing and so alive that I've seen a lot of big game studios as well, like reducing their numbers and going down to smaller size teams, and it's reaching a point now where like there's so many great games here. Like I would love to spend a week playing everyone's games here, but there's no time.
The more people that make great games, the more people buy games, and the bigger the industry becomes. So I think it's the best time it's been for indies, at least.
But indie development it's accessible finally. Literally anyone can be an indie developer. Anyone can make a game on a console, give or take. It is so much more open. It is fantastic as a developer.
Hi, I'm Aris, and this is Ira from TerraHard. This is a turn-based fighting game. You can select one of the 30 different characters, 16 different elements, and teach them one of the 10 different fighting styles. This game, you're trying to basically play mind games against your opponent, try to create like a big strategy and like use the elemental advantage, use like the passive abilities and empowering your current abilities, like to actually make the best combination of your skills and defeat your opponent.
So the game is Warhammer End Times Vermintide, which is a 4-player co-op game. We decided quite early that we wanted to make a co-op game. That's something we've always been doing multiplayer games. After Left 4 Dead, there hasn't been that much of a co-op game, so it's still definitely something that the players want. So that's how we came up with it.
The game we're looking at today is Riot Civil Unrest. It's the first time we've actually publicly shown the game. It's been highly anticipated for a couple of years now. So Leonard Minchiari, who's the author of the game, he was involved in a riot years ago in Notav in Italy, and he decided that he wanted to make an emotional game about what happens at riots, because he was a rioter, but he also felt sorry for the police as well. So he decided to make a balanced game based on riot. Leonard's an artist, so he decided it was a good way to convey the message. As you can see, the pixel art is tremendously powerful, and he's an incredibly gifted artist as well.
We realized we had to really push our limits on when it came to what kind of graphical quality we could achieve. Because I think the Warhammer universe is such a visual place, and you really need to make it justice in a game.
So the AI on the game is not quite there yet at the moment. So at the moment, all you're trying to do is control the crowd off the screen, and if you agitate the crowd, they will run at you. So there's different emotions that you have to do. We try to replicate some of the stuff that's happened in some of those real-world riots, whether it's in Ukraine or whether it's in some of the different areas that we've had.
I always like the story behind the games. I thought about become like writing stories about games and stuff, but programming was my thing, and I did a course for programming, and I did a master's for games development in particular, and yeah, went to the games industry, and I've been trying hard since.
I started out of interest. I've been playing games, mostly pen and paper, role-playing games since I was a kid. About 10 years ago, I had these friends of mine that started a studio, a really small one with about 5 people working in the cellar. I sort of just squeezed myself in, and I've been working with totally different stuff before that.
Merge Games is an independent publisher based out of Manchester. We've been champions of independent games for 6 years. We do a lot of collectible retail boxes like the Binding of Isaac, Limbo, Terraria. And then slowly we've been moving into independent publishing globally for about the last 3 years. We have about 25 titles on Steam, 3 or 4 games in production for Xbox One and PS4 as well.
So we're quite self-funded and we're quite comfortable with how we're progressing on the financial side. But from an indie perspective, it's awkward because what people term indie it's always one of those discussion points. Well, is so-and-so really indie? Is so-and-so really indie? What is indie?
There's an expectation from like gamers in general, especially online, but it's usually like the vocal minority that it's that kind of like, oh, this game isn't worth $10 sort of thing, and it's like, well, you know, you go to see a movie and that lasts an hour and a half, right? If I can play a game for longer than an hour and a half and it costs me like a pint, then I've pretty much got my worth out of that game.
I think if you're agile with your approach and you really budget things out and plan things out, if you pick the right things, you can make it work. But obviously, you need a set budget. You need to survive. You've got to pay rent. You've got to keep yourself alive as an indie. You know, unfortunately, indies don't make a lot of money. You do it for the love, not the money. So as long as you've got enough to get by, it doesn't really matter too much.
Dev kits are becoming either cheaper or soon you'll be able to do it on just the console. But like we didn't pay to be here. Our costs are just our bills that we have and time. Time is the biggest expense. So all the frameworks now you use, like Unity and Corona and all those ones, are starting to do a free model. So you can keep your costs really low. So there's never been a better time to do it, really.
Now with engines like Unity and Unreal becoming free, like a lot more people can actually like start developing. If you work in the games industry and you're happy with your skills and know what you can do, that's the best thing. Like, you know, self-criticism. How much can I do? How much time will I need? Do I have a budget for that time? Do I need an artist?
I think video game in general, the quality of independence has just gone through the roof. So, you know, what would have done really well 3 years ago, probably not so well now. So you're starting to see independent games which are looking like AAA games. So there's that.
I think Kickstarter and Indiegogo are a great opportunity for somebody.
When it works well. I mean, there's some games where you do need a big budget because you need someone to write the music and do it because there's no one in the house. You need artists, you need marketing and stuff.
If they've got a great idea for a game, they've got a great pitch, a great concept, a great thing that they can show and that they know that themselves can fulfill on it, because that's one of the more important sides of things, then I think Kickstarter and are a fantastic means of revenue.
I am kind of technically crowdfunded, being in early access, right? So I've always had a respect for crowdfunding, and I'm very much a believer of, like, you know, £5 or £10 is pretty expendable. You don't think about that £5 you spent on a beer or £10 you spent on, like, I don't know, a muffin and, you know, your lunch the other day. And I know they're like necessities or whatever, but it's pretty easy to spend that money, right? And if you're working a day job or whatever, you're going to get it back by next month.
You're no longer beholden to someone else who doesn't believe in your game, but you are then beholden to people who do believe in your game.
I mean, I love the fact that people are getting opportunities to kind of realize their dreams within the Kickstarter campaign. The only thing that will probably worry me a little with it is biting off more than they can chew. That's the key thing. I mean, you can have your stretch goals and you can promise that you can do this and do that.
If you start promising big rewards with the game, you've got to remember to take that out of your budget. And, you know, you plan for your game to be finished in 6 months. It'll take you 8 months. You're always going to run over.
There's too much room for error. And I think it should just be kind of brought back a bit. And if you're going to do a video game, especially, it should just be the basics.
Kickstarter has opened doors for many studios, for new studios. Indiegogo, the same thing. A lot of companies get like pre-funding and then they go to Kickstarter and get extra funding. I hope that people, when they go and fund other people like in the Kickstarter and other places, they understand that there are people who need salaries to actually live.
So I'm always pro supporting a developer, and I'd be a bit of a hypocrite if I wasn't, right? So yeah, I love buying early access things, and I'm just like, this is an awesome idea, I'd like to see it. If it doesn't, you know, hey ho, it's good. If it helps people out, then why not?
I spend a lot of money on Kickstarter. I love backing games on Kickstarter.
And if you've got lots of fans which are willing to do it and willing to put the money there, where a publisher wouldn't, I think it's a really great thing, and it gives some people that chance.
Maybe it's just a different way of funding rather than a fantastic new, whoa, this is the future. It's another opportunity. Again, it comes back to indie development being so open. This is another way for people to get their game done, because financing is difficult. It gives you another means of getting good financing and getting your product to market.
It's really hard as a developer to explain to the users what's actually happening behind the scenes. You know, for all they know, there could be, you know, personal things happen, or, you know, work things happen where they've had to take a different direction. All sorts of things can happen and change. It's partly down to the developers to be more open with what they're spending that money on, where it's being spent, and what they're doing with it. And I think the community is happy. You know, if something happened where you need more financial stability, or this has been extended, or there's a problem here, or bugs arose there, that's fine. But just be honest with the community and tell people, as long as you're open and honest. But yeah, man, I think it's down to the developers to be more open and honest, and, you know, just the community is people, man. You know what I mean? Like, just be open, man.
EGX is just massive now. It's fantastic because so many gamers come through, so many people like you, press come through. It gives us the chance to bring Raging Justice to a whole new set of people.
I had a really good time at Res, and that was mainly for indies. Whereas this, I think there's a lot of people expecting AAA, coming over to the indie area and then being surprised. And I've already heard a lot of people say that.
That's so invaluable. I can't even express how valuable that is. And then I came with a double monitor setup with the two computers because I wanted to get as much feedback from players as possible, so the game was really polished.
Well, it's actually kind of cool. We came to one of these, I think it's 2 years ago, when we had one game and it did all right, but no one really knew of us. And we said next year we'll have a stand here. It's taken 2 years, but we're here. So.
And well, I've always been going to the EGX and like a Eurogamer in the past years, and I thought like this was going to be like a good place to have like a big like stand, and people are going to see us for the first time.
It's our first time at EGX, and because of Warhammer being invented in Britain or England, it felt good to come here for that.
Being a small independent, and a particularly small one as we are, we're a nobody. We're a little mouse in the corner squeaking away and nobody listens to us. But it's somewhere like EGX, we get to have our footage of space. We get to have a stand and people get to see us.
Places like EGX, if you're a developer in a position like me where you're on a product that's close to being released, you've got to come to these events with early builds, broken builds, buggy builds. Bring them, let people play, find out what the response is. Like, you're not going to get that first-hand research anywhere else.
And we see this less as a marketing tool and more as a way of seeing how people play the game.
I wanted that exposure, and I wanted some feedback from people as well, and just to catch up with other devs. So it's kind of all of an amalgam of everything.
I wanted to get feedback from players whilst they were here and find out what people were saying, so I can make those improvements before releasing it to the public and really make sure that those controls are tight and everything's really dialed.
After being here for 3 days, I feel it would be the right decision.
Without shows like this, nobody knows us. So that's why we came here, that's what we're finding coming here is helping. So people start to learn about our game and the other fantastic games there are here in the Res area. So we're on Twitter under Making Games, we're also on Facebook, and of course makinggames.com.
Okay, so you can search RPG Tycoon on Steam, or you can go to skitanicstudios.co.uk and find everything there, or I am at Skitanic Studios on Twitter.
Well, straight away you can join us on our Facebook page. Rising Star Games is on Facebook, it's as simple as that. You can follow us on Twitter as well. We've got loads of social media stuff going on with other formats, and we're going to be kicking up a Snapchat page soon as well. So yeah, just keep up to date with those, and our website, risingstargames.com. Can't go wrong.
Okay, so you can find us at Polygrammatic on Twitter, or the Polygrammatic website, or if you look on Twitter for Super Mixtape hashtag. I'm trying to spam it out a little bit so that if people search for it, it's there. I'm Christo. Yeah, they'll probably find me quite quickly on Twitter. Should be all right. Yeah, cool.
Twitter is at LaserDogGames. Facebook is just search for LaserDog. I don't know what the URL is. And we've got this new website, hopico-game.com. and we're very active on Twitter. I really like talking to the community, so yeah, send us a tweet, it'd be great.
Yeah, so at the moment we are in EGX 2015 on the rest area. You can find ERA on our website, era-game.com, and also like you can find us on Greenlight, hope for votes, and follow us, and we're going to be releasing like beta keys soon for online game very soon.
The best way to get information about our upcoming title, Vermintide, is to go to our website, vermintide.com. Also, we got several betas coming up where you will get info about those from the webpage. Steam, obviously, with the upcoming release, where there's a pre-order available now. And I think that's about it.
If you go to mergegames.com or if you go to rideorgsimulator.com, you will also find out information, or visit our Steam page for Riot Civil Unrest as well, which is always updated, IndieDB, Reddit and so on. So.